This Impact Wrestling review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and next week TNA won't instantly cut away from the most interesting thing that happens on the entire show. Lately, I've been talking about how little thought is going into booking Impact right now. And you can't deny it. It's obvious. When they're booking this stuff, they probably spend maybe 15 minutes deciding what matches they want to put on, and another 45 minutes writing a promo or two. If the writers are spending more than an hour putting each of these shows together, I would be very surprised. And it's not that any of these shows are necessarily bad, they're not. It's just that, aside from some good wrestling and a good promo or two, there's not much else going on here. Storylines have been minimized, and with a couple exceptions, the ones that they have are so basic you could probably write them over your lunch break. With everything being up in the air until a new TV deal happens, they're not trying to push the envelope, they're not trying to grow their ratings or grow their audience, they're doing nothing but trying to keep their heads above water with a bare-bones wrestling show. And the wrestling might be good, but that doesn't mean much at the end of the day if you don't have the substance behind it. There's this business of Bobby Roode trying to get another title shot against Lashley. I thought it was funny how he threw in that dig about MVP doing all of Lashley's talking for him. Apparently Roode's never heard a Lashley promo before, because if he had, he wouldn't be complaining about that. So MVP, who has the power to book matches all of a sudden, says that if Roode can beat him and Kenny King in a handicap match, he'll get a title shot. But if he loses, he'll never get another title shot ever again. TNA, how dumb do you think we are? This might have worked 10 or 15 years ago, but in 2014, it's stupid. A stipulation like this completely telegraphs the finish of the match. Is Bobby Roode never going to wrestle for the world title ever again? Of course not. So obviously, he's not going to lose this match. If you have to do this, pick a stipulation where the idea of Roode losing is at least plausible. Like, he can't get a title shot for 6 months or something. At least then you can believe that there's a chance he might lose. This just makes it the most obvious thing in the world that he won't.
Oh, you were not aware of this?
So later on they have the match and, hey, look at that, Roode didn't lose. DQ finish, well, who could have seen that coming? Besides, you know, everybody. Not that the finish of the match even mattered. Afterward, Angle shows up and says that MVP never had the power to book that match in the first place, making the results null and void, and he's going to have Roode wrestle for the #1 contendership again next week. So what the hell was the point of this match then? To fill time? To take up space? Why didn't Angle just come out and say this when they were setting the match up? Was he in the bathroom during the opener? What the hell's going on here? Oh, and just in case you were wondering about how big a deal this all is, Bobby Roode and Lashley, neither one of them are booked for Bound for Glory. So, you know, there's that. I really would have preferred a Havoc talking segment to a Knockouts #1 Contenders match. Havoc just won the title, she's the division's new monster heel, but we don't know anything about her yet because they haven't told us anything about her. Why all the mystery? We know she can talk, so let her talk. You know, call me crazy, but I'd like to learn something about Havoc, like why she's here, what her goals are, what her character motivations are, before we set her up with a random-ass title challenger. Right now, she's a blank slate. Sure, it's fun watching her destroy people, but tell us something about her so we can get invested in her character while she's destroying people.
Yes!
They have this match with Taryn, Angelina, and Madison. I didn't care for it. I thought it was a bit messy and the timing was off. Then Madison won, and I cared for that decision even less. This means that they're matching up their new monster heel against another heel who the fans don't care about and gets no heat. No offense, TNA, but I don't see that working out. Lacking someone to cheer for, the fans usually end up just choosing one or the other. So the only likely outcome here is that Havoc starts getting face heat, which is what you don't want. And these are the types of problems you run into when your female talent pool is so shallow and you only have two babyfaces to work with, Gale and Taryn. Which begs the question, why not just feud Havoc with Taryn? Obviously that's being set up for later, but why delay it when you have no compelling way to delay it? Didn't you learn your lesson with Gale Taryn 3? You really think anyone's going to care about heel Havoc versus heel Madison Rayne? I doubt that very much.
This alleged superstar is an unworthy opponent.
But that wasn't even the weirdest part about this. Because apparently, somehow, some way, all that was set up for Velvet Sky getting a title shot against Havoc at Bound for Glory. How? Why? These are things TNA didn't bother to tell us. If I sound very confused, it's only because I'm very confused.
This is unbelievable. This doesn't make any sense.
James Storm and Sonata versus Low Ki and Tigre Uno happened. It was good. The heels won. And there didn't seem to be anything else to this, really. Just an enhancement match to put the heels over. Storm Sonata versus Muta Tajiri is maybe the only Bound for Glory match that has a real story behind it, so you want to make them look strong. But did you have to relegate Low Ki, of all people, to an enhancement guy? There was no one else who could have done that? Low Ki? Really?
Really?
Stop me if you've heard this one before. Samuel Shaw tries to prove himself to Gunner by challenging Bram to a no DQ match. The match itself is pretty good, and he loses. Again. You know, this Shaw-Gunner angle has been going on for months. Can we please just get to the point already? Then Brittany comes out to comfort Shaw, so maybe the point of this is that she never wins matches and he never wins matches, so maybe they can never win matches together. Or maybe they'll start winning finally because two crazy stalker heads are better than one or something. I don't know anymore. And unless something happens in this angle soon, I don't think I'm gonna care either.
And that's the fishing line, 'cause Shark Boy said so.
If there was one thing on this show that got me genuinely engaged in the story they were telling, it was EC3 and Rockstar Spud. This was great. And why? Because it's a good storyline that hasn't done anything stupid, that's been well told, progressed at an organic, logical pace, and unlike with the Shaw-Gunner thing, they knew when to pay it off at the right time. Spud finally stood up to EC3, even though it was totally his fault that Operation Human Shield failed and wrestling's greatest hero EC3 was only doing what he had to do. Spud smacked EC3 in the face, the fans got behind him, and here I am, watching, genuinely engaged, because you're telling a good, compelling story with good, compelling characters. So naturally, the production guys cut away from it way too fucking soon. EC3 fires Spud, and before we even see his reaction, we're cutting away to something else.
No! No! No!
What are you doing? That was the most interesting story development that happened all night. Don't cut away from it. Stay on it, for God's sake. Show us Spud's reaction. I wanted to see that stuff. Come on.
Urge to kill rising.
And then we had the final match in the Triple Threat Tag Team Title Series. The last match for all the marbles with the Wolves, the Hardys, Team 3D, Full Metal Mayhem. And frankly, this was unbelievable. They devoted half an hour to it. All 6 guys killed themselves, took some insane bumps that I hurt just watching. All of them deserve a standing ovation. It was amazing, spectacular, everything it should have been and more. And by God, it should have happened at Bound for fucking Glory. Instead, it happened on Impact. I don't really know where we go from here. You know, I've been wondering a lot about this. why TNA would put themselves in a position where they have to write off Bound for Glory as an afterthought, essentially. Apparently, there were a lot of problems putting the card together, and this was the best they could do under the circumstances. This is what they said. To which my response is, if you weren't going to make this a priority, if you were going to have to treat what's supposed to be your biggest show of the whole year like a one-night-only show just to make it happen, if it was going to cause you so many logistical and talent problems to do a pay-per-view in Japan, then maybe you shouldn't be doing a pay-per-view in Japan. Just a thought. EC3 and Spud was great, and Full Metal Mayhem was fan-fucking-tastic match of the year stuff. The rest of the show I thought was pretty dull, and almost none of it had to do with Bound for Glory. Like I said before, they're not really building to anything here. They're not moving forward, at best they're moving sideways. And they might deliver some great matches and some entertaining segments along the way, but until a new TV deal happens, this product is really just treading water. And that'll be it for Impact this week. But if you haven't already, come over to my channel Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm doing a weekly live stream now where I talk about all the weekly comic shows. S.H.I.E.L.D., Gotham, Arrow, Flash. I give my thoughts on all of them, and then we do questions and comments and stuff. It's a lot of fun. So check that out, and I'll see you guys then. Later.